Okay, great. Thanks to see you guys again. I want to take a minute and introduce our panel for this conversation. And first to say thanks to you guys for coming back and continuing this dialogue with us. I want to introduce first our panel members. You've seen their bios, you know the organizations that they work with, and they'll tell you a lot more about their work as I introduce them. I want to start by saying good morning to Gladys and ask Gladys to tell you who she is and the organization that she works with.
Buenos días, everyone. My name is Gladys Godinez. My pronouns are she and ella. Ella's in Spanish, hers, her and hers. I am here as Executive Director for United by Culture Media.
Thank you, Gladys. Shailene Smith is with us.
Hi, my name is Shailene. I am the president of the Blue River Arts Council in Crete, Nebraska. In real life, I'm an attorney and a certified nonprofit professional, and I just volunteer in the arts capacity at this time.
And there's no such thing as just volunteer, right? And our third panelist is Brian Parker. Good morning, Brian. Good to see you again.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Brian Parker. I'm with First People's Fund as the program manager of Rolling Res Arts. Coming to you today from Red Shirt Table, South Dakota, which is located on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. And I am White Mountain Apache. My pronouns are he and him. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Okay, guys, buckle up. Let's see how the technology and the dialogue and Margie all work together. But our panel members wanted to talk to you from a real practical standpoint. The how we do it, how the sausage is made, what we do in our own environments. And so I asked them to talk about their work from two levels. And we talked about it from the perspective of the air game, which we'll talk about first, the policy, structural, infrastructure, how to prepare. In fact, we had a question from our previous session about how do you work with board members who might be resistant, et cetera. So those are some infrastructure things. So we want to talk about those first. And to the extent that I am a bureaucrat, my panel members are not. They're actually fabulous practitioners. But all of us know that the planning that we talked about a little while ago is an integral part of our success as we look to be more broad-minded and more inclusive in our programming. So I'm going to start with Gladys first again on this round and ask her to talk about, from her organization's point of view, a little bit about the background work that has had to be done in your organization to make sure that you're reaching the broadest possible audience. And I'll just go to each panel member in succession. I'll call on you. So Gladys.
Thank you, Margie. Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I learned as I was developing United by Culture Media alongside my husband is that we really need community input. I came back to Lexington after I graduated, moved to Wisconsin, and thought I was going to live in Wisconsin because the grass is greener somewhere else, right? After you live in rural Nebraska. And then I realized that I wanted to be home, and I had a hard time finding home and figuring out the definition of home because I'm an immigrant of Guatemala. When I was 7, I moved to California, then came to Lexington, Nebraska. So the definition of home was really hard for me to track down. And then I realized Lexington was my home all along because it has my family. And I returned thinking, hey, I'm going to start a nonprofit. We're going to change the world. We're going to make it happen. This is what's going to happen in 2016 because I'm capable of doing that. This is what my community needs. And it was very interesting because, yes, I started a nonprofit. It was named the Trinidad Center after my grandma. And, I started doing activities that I thought our community needed. And during a raid preparation meeting, because we were concerned about an immigration rate in our community, Lexington, Nebraska, 65% Latino, 10% African. or Black, and then the rest is the white population. So we were concerned that immigration or ICE was going to track us down, and unfortunately affect our rural community. During that meeting, we all really thought, we're really in a dark place. Where are we headed? Why are we in this dark place? What can we do for our community? So our conversations came back to, we need to celebrate our community, we need to celebrate our diversity, and we need to be intentional with inclusion. Hence, we started the United by Culture Festival. And that's where it came back to. So Margie talked about it in the first one, talk to the community, engage. I came in full force thinking I was going to save the world, and realized that the world had its own thoughts of what it needed. And I changed my path. And I learned, I'm not perfect. We still have a lot of work to do with our Somali African community in regards to including them into programming and different things that we want to make sure that they're engaged with.
Excellent, thank you. That knowledge before engagement is a key. Thank you. Shailene, you have any thoughts about that sort of higher level of thinking and learning?
We had the benefit of starting with this work in mind and of being a few years behind Lexington and seeing what Gladys and the city administrators and the schools had done in Lexington. Like Lexington, we're a meatpacking community with a significant influx of immigrants. I want to say we're about 45% Latino at this time and about 5% Asian. So we saw this happening around the state, and we had some of the benefit of coming at it a little bit later. We formed in 2018, and we formed actually like most rural communities in Nebraska. We lost our movie theater. It went out of business. We saw a need for not just a movie theater, but a need for a culturally inclusive space and entertainment opportunities. We had assimilated in our school systems, we had assimilated in many of our work environments, but socially our community was still very, very segregated. And we were trying to figure out how to bridge those gaps. So we actually intentionally formed as an arts council, broader than just a movie theater and broader than just an inclusion agency. We wanted to try and marry all of those things and try to bring something new to our community on New to the Table. So bridging cultures is actually in our mission statement. We started there, understanding that that's what we wanted to do. It's taken us a little while to figure out how to do it in a way that is appropriate for everybody. I will quickly just say, when you think about diversity, we're talking right now about cultural diversity. But when you're in a small town in rural Nebraska, you need to think beyond the color of someone's skin. If you look at me, I'm a white German heritage woman, but you would never know that I'm also hearing impaired and that my great grandma was Cherokee Indian. So you have to look beyond someone's facial expression and find out how you're different and learn from each other. So what we did as a board was start at that level. We had a workshop. We talked as a board about who we really are and what diversity we can bring to the table. We then made a point of asking a Latina business owner to be a part of the board. And when a city position opened up, we asked specifically for the diversity resource officer. So our board at this point is actually all female, but a huge range. We've got a doctor and a lawyer and a bakery owner and the city resource officer. So we have intentionally all along built our board to try and attract different aspects of the community and different arts. So I think that Air Game is just that planning. We started from the point of understanding we want to be culturally diverse. We want to include everyone. And so we've been very intentional about our board design, about our mission statement. Everything we have done from the start has been designed with that perspective.
Thank you, Shailene. And I really appreciate your emphasizing what Gladys is saying too, that this work has to be approached with intentionality. That we have to have those conversations with ourselves, with our fellow volunteers and board members, to put it all out there on the table and know that that's a direction that we're headed in together. Brian from Rolling Res Arts, which is just, I've been looking at his website, a really exciting project. But Brian, let's hear from you about that air game work.
Okay. So the organization that the Rolling Res is with is First Peoples Fund, and we're a Native nonprofit arts organization. And so we're focused on an already marginalized community here in South Dakota, which is the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, which the Lakota people are from. One of the things that we do to be inclusive is we build relationships with the community. We listen to the wants and needs of the community, and really the work is about relationships and the time it takes to build those within the community. And for non-Native folks, it could mean just to show up, not showing up to save, the people in our Lakota communities, but, showing up to lend a hand. And all this, like I said, takes time to build that sort of trust. First Peoples Fund's existence is really about inclusivity. And if I could just read the definition of our term at First Peoples Fund, collective spirit, that'll give you a better idea of what this kind of work is all about. So collective spirit is a commitment to nurture our shared humanity and honor our connection to one another, the lands around us, those who come before us, and the spirit of all things. The collective spirit moves each of us to stand up and make a difference, to pass on ancestral knowledge, and to extend a hand of generosity. The collective spirit is essential to sustaining the cultural fabric of Native communities and our ability to thrive. So our mission is to honor and support the collective spirit of First Peoples artists and culture bearers. And our work recognizes the power of art and culture to bring about positive change in Native communities, beginning with individual artists and their families. So that's really the first steps, and the mission with the work that we do is just to have that community outreach and to include everyone and to find out what it is they want and need. And through that, the programs at First Peoples Funds were born. Specifically, the program I managed, the Rolling Res Arts. It came from a market study in 2013 that we're kind of trying to figure out how many people on the reservation were engaged in at-home businesses. And so we found out that about half of the people on the reservation were engaged in at-home businesses, and most of that was through the arts. So through conversations like that in the market study, the Rolling Res Arts, which is a mobile art unit, I forgot to add for those of you who don't know, was born. So the program I manage is basically about getting those resources to the people who already live in a community where there's great distance between each of the communities. They say Pine Ridge Indian Reservation is roughly the size of Connecticut. So just to give you all an idea, the resources are not so great, and the distance is even greater. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And stand by, because I'm going to ask you to roll right into talking about the ground game, the programmatic aspect of your work. But let me just do my job and summarize here. I think our listeners are hearing a repeat, right? The idea of looking at your mission statements, again, understanding the what and why, and to Shailene's point about being very intentional about the work and the design and talking to leaders, and most importantly, in who you're recruiting to be in this conversation, to work with you to get this work seeded and launched. And Gladys is warning us. She started the conversation talking about listening. And so we really appreciate those as key infrastructural points. So let's talk about the ground game. What's happening on the ground game? We've done the background work. Brian, let's start with you to continue to talk about your specific program. And I think you have screen sharing abilities. I'll let Mike or somebody pull me back if I'm wrong, if you have images to share.
Yeah, I'll share. Let me share a photo of So real quick. Excuse me.
And just so the audience knows, I can't help them. There we go.
So can everybody see the image of the bus?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the Rolling Res Arts. It's a 32-foot shuttle bus that's been retrofitted. It's a mobile art classroom, a mobile bank, and a business training center. And so this is the vehicle that takes the programming around to the different communities here on Pine Ridge. We also work outside of Pine Ridge Indian reservations and neighboring communities to bring the knowledge and the training to everyone. Again, that's how we are being inclusive. But like I said before, this came out of a want and need in that market study, to provide how can we provide our artists and our communities with resources because the distance is so great. And so this is really the solution we have at the moment, and it's been a great solution. I work with a lot of local Lakota artists. Some of those are more contemporary artists. Most of them are traditional artists. And so the classes that are being taught and the training revolve around contemporary and traditional Lakota art. And we work closely with the community in teaching that. We also partner with Lakota Federal Credit Union here on Pine Ridge and to do biweekly mobile banking. And then we also partner with the Heritage Center at the Red Cloud Indian School, and that's a gift shop and gallery. So our idea is that, and our hope is that the community will use the bus, in full service as it is. So the people are coming to our trainings, our classes. They're going, they're establishing an account with the bank, the credit union, and they're selling their art to the Heritage Center during their art buying days and participating in those shows, art shows, excuse me. And so it's kind of a full service program, full service bus too, if you will. And again, we're just we're going around and we're trying to gather, all the needs and wants from the community. We're listening to them. We're talking about what it is that they really need. How could they benefit? How could this bus and program, excuse me, be the best it can be and really provide those resources that are not really so available at the moment or readily available. Yeah, and it's been great. The bus started rolling around the res in 2016, and we've taken it up to different areas in the state, also outside of the state, including Minnesota. It's been to Standing Rock during the no DAPL occupation and was providing art classes and training up there in the camps during that. It's been down to Santa Fe, New Mexico to provide art training during the Santa Fe Indian Art Market, which is happening this weekend. Unfortunately, we couldn't be there, but that's all. That's what it really is about. It's about finding those wants and needs and finding a solution. And so this was that solution right now. The culmination of this program and other programs at First Peoples Fund, such as our youth program, Dances with Word, which is a poetry mentoring program, and our fellowship program. The culmination of those programs led us to our new building in Kyle, which is on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. It's the Oglala Lakota Art Space. It's an 8,500 square foot building, excuse me, that's going to continue all these types of programming and trainings. And so we're really proud of that. And we're just excited for, the future and what it has in store.
Thank you. This is such an inspiring story of how you look at barriers. Sometimes we in our tiny worlds think about obstacles and barriers and we back away. And in this case, I feel like this organization and Brian's work has used the barriers as what we call in the teaching artist field, enabling constraints. what are those roadblocks that prevent people from participating in the arts? It is not true to our group here that if you build it, they will come. You can build it and they still may not come. And so it is the they and it is the it that was the focus here. And so taking this beautiful piece of art in and of itself out to meet the needs, lower those barriers to access. It's really inspirational. I'm trying to juggle and see if I have questions. Somebody will help me with these questions if we have them and if I'm missing them. Thank you, Brian. I'm sure there will be questions for you as we go along. Gladys, let's hear more about your work and the ground game, how your organization responded to what you heard.
Thank you. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. I hope you can see it. Can I have you nod your? Yes, perfect. Thank you. This is just a quick conversation. We had a meeting and talked a little bit about what are some takeaways. So I'm just going to try to do my best to sum it up in the time frame that I have. And I want to thank you again for having me here. This is my husband, a picture of him filming a mini documentary at a local store that we have in our community called La Guatemalteca. And just you will see images throughout the presentation, and you'll see the names of the individuals or the business organization or business that they belong to, but just letting you know they are all from Lexington, Nebraska. So one of the things that I would start with is just really talking about this ground game piece. Where do you start? In diversity, equity, and inclusion, identity is such a big part of DEI work, and really reflecting. Shailene talked about her ancestry and who she is. She's a woman. And here I can talk to you and tell you I'm an immigrant, I'm a mother, I'm Latina, I am a daughter. So my identity is very important as to how I approach my work. And it is very important for you to understand who you are before you come in and, to a community or to introduce yourself. And there's some work there, right? There's some pieces that you can dive in as an individual to really seek out who you are as an individual coming into a community or a business. So seek out your identity, learn how you approach things as an individual. They're going to be different than others, and that's okay, because that's really truly the point here is diversity. We are all different, but it doesn't mean that we don't have similarities. The other one that I have for you is, what is your inclusive programming goal? Is it a festival? Is it a theater? Is it, a bus? What does that look like for you, really? And what does that look like for your community? And then coming back and talking about how that can be realistic for your community or your goal. My example is, I saw this beautiful virtual conference and I was just like, oh my goodness, honey, to my husband, we need to make this happen. In Lexington, we have so much art, we have so much culture and richness. Why aren't we celebrating it like this? And because of the pandemic, virtual events are what we're trying to hone in on. So we are having a festival and it is going to be virtual, and we have done mini docs for various organizations and individuals. But we're also very nervous because it may not reach that goal, that, that beautiful conference that I saw virtually, but we're working on it. And if you don't try, right, then you're not a step ahead. You're still just very much in that fear mode of not trying. This is a woodwork from a local entrepreneur, El Rinconcito restaurant. They are famous for their pupusas, filled tortillas with yumminess. And then my third piece is keep learning. It's here, you hear me here. I'm very humble. I know I'm going to make mistakes. I know that I'm going to mess up and say different things and do, and that's a learning process. Sometimes we just want to be perfect, but you have to learn. You have to be able to be okay with being not okay, right? Uncomfortable. So just keep learning. And one of the pieces here is from a gentleman, young high school student. His name is Landon Bowen. He started his own clothing line in Lexington, and now he has his own shop in Lexington. So super excited. He's still a high school student, and he did this Imagine if he would have stuck in fear, right? He wouldn't even have his own store. Right? In review, it starts with you. What does your goal look like? And keep learning. And another piece of art that we have is from a daughter of a business owner in New Moon Restaurant here in Lexington. Her name is Maria. And this is a piece of art that they have in her restaurant. I invite you to join us for the virtual festival on the 28th. It is live on Facebook. And here's my information. And this will be available to you after as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys. What profound words of wisdom, identity. I think, again, that goes back to our having a fear that we're different from the other. And Gladys is saying, embrace that identity, that uniqueness, that just because I am who I am and look like who I look like doesn't mean that I can't become synchronized and learn more about you and your work. And the commonalities, Gladys, just the basic commonalities. I'm female, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a student, I'm a learner. Those connections, those human connections will make the difference in, and this idea of being humble and acknowledging that we're all continuing to learn and grow as we live and walk on this earth. So let's have Shailene share with us her on the ground work and bring it home for us. And then we'll take all your questions after that.
All right, let me see if I can figure out the screen share and get this started. Well, maybe.
You got it.
I can't get to the.
Shailene, if you, go to your left and from beginning.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
There you go. Yep.
All right, but I need to get all of this off of what I want to show you. Okay, there we go. So I'm with the Blue River Arts Council, and I did want to provide our mission statement just so that you could see what I meant about starting from the beginning with this work and being intentional. So our mission statement is bridging cultures, building community, and boosting economy by bringing the theater back and providing arts to our community. If any good came out of the pandemic, I think everyone in the world learned the importance of arts and cultural programming. We all so badly needed the opportunity to connect with each other. And everyone started to see the money, truly the financial benefit that arts and culture bring into these communities. So it's right there in our mission statement. That's what we're going for. We started in 2019 with a public sculpture project, and you've seen those all around the country. Our school mascot is a cardinal, so we started with a cardinal, but we coined the programming year Birds of a Feather, just to bring that phrase in that we're all the same. And instead of presenting the sculptures painted at our first event, we actually brought them out plain at a soccer tournament, and they went to state, one of them went to state soccer tournament with our team, plain. Coined the tagline, we're all the same inside. So we started from that basic premise with everything that we've done since we started. And that resulted in a lot of fun stuff for our community. The other intentional thing we have done is provided as much as we can in both languages. Most of our printed materials and posters are put up in both English and Spanish. This is an example of the sponsorship brochure that was done for Birds of a Feather. It went to all of the businesses and donors that we were aware of in town. And as a result of our work specifically in Spanish, and because one of our bilingual board members went around and followed up to all of the local businesses, we were able to make sure we put an iconic piece right on Main Street that is in a Dia de los Muertos theme. So the bird you see in the top left actually sits at 13th and Main, 12th and Main, right in downtown Crete now permanently. And when we talked to our artists and retained them for this project, we specifically explained to them that our goal in doing this was to represent the many cultures and many people of our river valley. So obviously that would be our Latina themed bird, but those that went to schools, we made sure artists were representing the different cultures. Smithfield took the whole project another step, and they actually created an employee committee and had a good conversation among their employees and their management about what unity looks like in their work environment. And their employees designed their bird, and they wanted to focus on we can do great things together. There are a lot of hands. It's actually a cardinal that looks like a pig. But again, just working with that unity piece. And then you'll see the autism speaks bird. So we actually placed 23 cardinal sculptures in different themes all around the community. They're on our Facebook page if you ever want to flip back and look at some fun ones. Then 2020, obviously the pandemic curbed any of our plans. So we shifted very quickly and just called it the outdoor season. We bought all of the equipment to host an outdoor movie theater. You'll see that here. But what we tried to do with each movie was target a different audience as far as what they might be interested in, trying to find that out from our community. And then what you see at the bottom of the screen on this one is just closed captioning. It seems like a small and easy step. It's just a button you need to push on your projector, but it meant that people with hearing loss and disabilities could enjoy the movies with the rest of their family. So it's just taking that thought and making sure you're doing it every event that you do. This is a quilt that was put together for our outdoor season, and it was shown at all of our events. And all of the t-shirts, all of the wording here are cutouts from area businesses t-shirts. So all of the businesses that wanted to provide a logo were able to take everything apart and put it back together stronger. At Christmas, we were still dealing with everything outdoor. Everything that the kids were going to get to do had been closed. So we moved all of the community events for the holidays to a single event at City Park. And fortunately, in Crete, the work we'd been doing had already started to take off. We decorate Christmas trees, and they put 6 to 8 up, but we decorate them intentionally with different cultures or different themes. So this is an old world European looking tree. You'll see one that's decorated in a more Latina theme. So we have already been doing that. We brought those Christmas trees back and got to show them to all of the kids as they drove through. And we also invited a number of different participants to be a part of the event, including a live nativity set from one of the churches. And the Eagles Club brought the Grinch, and the Acting Guild brought a Santa. The FBLA kids came as elves. So we invited and included a lot of different aspects of the community. I think we had 13 altogether that were stationed all around the park in a drive-by setting. This is music provided by the high school show choir. The kids hadn't gotten to do concerts at all last fall by this time. So we were able to, in an outdoor setting, allow them to sing. They were videotaped, so it was on Facebook Live, so grandmas and grandpas could watch that weren't around. And it was also broadcast on the local radio station through Doan. So the afternoon performance meant that all of the college and high school kids that hadn't gotten to perform all year got to. And the fun part, this is just a little photo, but you can see the line of cars backed up for blocks. We went into this thinking we were going to provide stuff for about 350 kids as they drove through with their parents. We had to stop everything about 30 minutes early because we had handed out more than 450 gifts and packages, and we were simply out of stuff. So it worked really well. It brought a ton of people into town that just hadn't gotten a chance to do anything together for Christmas. But again, we were intentional. We brought in different groups and appealed to different parties. And then this year we focused on music. Again, we're working with the tagline that talks about unity. Our theme is Crete in Harmony. You'll see that we had some outdoor movies. We again went with a music theme, so The Greatest Showman and Coco, very different movies, but still very musical. We had brought in and started an Main Avenue art market, so local artists could market their events. And then we had live music. And at the time of this poster, we didn't have all of the music set, but I'll tell you that the July event, we actually had a Latino salsa band and a bluegrass band at the same event over a 4-hour period. In September, we're focusing downtown on polka and some of our Czech heritage. And then in October, we're hosting a band in cooperation with one of the restaurants and Doane University for their homecoming and trying to target the college kids and get them downtown. So again, we're working intentionally each time we do something for a different target audience or to try and bring a different mix of people together. So I think that's ultimately what I would tell you. Again, be intentional. We're looking at unity. We're looking at how are we the same and how do we bring those things together? We also want to ask people what they want to see. Again, I can think everybody's going to love a particular Latino band, but if nobody in your community has heard of them, they're not going to come out. So you need to ask them what they want to see. What do they want to hear? Focus groups, interviews, church leaders are fantastic. Go find out what they want and bring it to them. And then my last little photo is my favorite from this season. It is different dads from different cultures dancing with their daughters at an outdoor event. So that's what we're trying to bring to our community. And that's just a little sampling of the fact that it's slow work, but we're being intentional about it with everything we do, and it's working.
Thank you so much, Shailene. What a richness to share with us. And what she's re-emphasizing is this idea of thoughtfulness, of actually stopping to think about and think through and think with your neighbors, your community members, to understand that we as arts administrators sometimes get so engaged in presenting what we want for our community, we lose track of the sight of what the needs might be. And also, I think her discussion reminds us to use the people resources that are around us and to call on different volunteers. I mean, I could decorate a Christmas tree. I don't have to have, a certain kind of pedigree to do that and to participate in that. And so I think, making sure that what we're asking people to become engaged with is also accessible to them and reasonable to them. And in these cases, all three of these examples, there's no delineation between what is fine art, high art, my art. It's about participation and engagement. What a terrific group of stories